Way back in 2002, I met Tallat Mukhtar, a merchant banker who was after a bit more spice in his life. So without any developing experience, he set about creating a stylish loft apartment in London's East End with his own bare hands.
It's only a two-bedroom flat. Yeah. Famous last words, huh?
Oh, yes, that's optimistic.
When I said drawings, I meant drawings.
Are you having a laugh? Do you know how long they took? I work in a bank. I've never used a pencil and a ruler in my life.
It was a baptism of fire, and since then, Tallat's been on quite a journey. Now I'm back to catch up with the next instalment of this remarkable story. With your portfolio, do you ever sort of lie in bed and think, oh, crikey, am I in too deep?
I'm not deep enough yet.
Meet 28-year-old Tallat Mukhtar. He currently works as a merchant banker, but wants to give it all up to become a property developer. Although he has no experience, Tallat's just bought an empty shell in trendy Shoreditch, East London. It's on the third floor of a new development of flats with offices below, most of which is still being built. He plans to fit out this concrete shell and sell it on, making a whopping profit of £100,000.
I'm really excited about it, always have been. It's a vision, it's a dream, really, it is.
Tallat's shell is 900 square feet, which is as big as a badminton court. He plans to turn this space into an upmarket two-bedroom apartment. This is a massive project for someone with no previous experience, as it's nothing more than a shell with only basic plumbing and electricity. It's also a big investment, which Tallat is financing with savings and loans.
Wow, this is it. What a great space. This is fantastic.
Amazing, isn't it?
So how much did you actually buy the flat for?
I paid £220,000 for it.
And how much are you planning on spending on it?
Around about £30,000.
And so then you'd be in at £250,000. How much do you think you'll be able to sell it for?
£350,000 is what I'm hoping for.
So that's £100,000 profit.
That's it.
And what are you going to do with all that money?
Get out of banking and move into property development, hopefully.
Tallat bought the apartment for £220,000. His development budget is £30,000. He wants to sell for £350,000, making a profit of £100,000 before tax and legal fees. Not only has Tallat no experience as a property developer, he's also planning to be his own architect, something I really wouldn't recommend. But he already has his floor plan.
So tell me about how the layout's going to be.
2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 1 ensuite and 1 to be accessed by the rest of the flat. Trying not to put any funny corridors or anything which lead to rooms, just you access everything from the main space.
Tallat is absolutely right to be including 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, as this arrangement will undoubtedly add most value. As you enter the property, the first thing you will see is the large floor-to-ceiling windows located at the front of the building. These will act as the focal point for the apartment. Tallat intends to have the kitchen, the living area and the entrance as one open space at the front of the flat. From this space you will access all the other rooms. There will be a double bedroom and a main bathroom. The master bedroom with an ensuite shower room will be located at the rear of the property. But Tallat's apartment is on the 3rd floor and the only exit is through the open-plan kitchen living area. From my experience, this layout will not comply with building and fire regulations, and if Tallat doesn't address this issue, he'll be in big trouble.
I suspect you're going to have an issue with building regulations with this, because from the bedrooms, you have to go through a habitable room to get out to the staircase.
Okay.
And as far as I know, that doesn't comply with fire regulations. Have you spoken to building regulations
No,
or
I
fire
haven't
regulations?
yet. They're just around the corner. I plan to do that.
That probably is something you possibly should have
Done first.
investigated before you bought it.
This is serious stuff. Tallat bought this property with a vision to create a flowing open-plan space. But his vision might never happen. Acting as your own architect is an ambitious undertaking for anyone. Architects train for 7 years. By taking on this role himself, Tallat set himself a big challenge.
I think you're absolutely right to be putting 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms to maximise the value of this flat. It's quite a limited market and there are quite a lot of flats like this, so you have to make this flat better than all the rest to achieve what you want to achieve. And so you desperately need your wow factor here, and
Right.
I'm not quite sure where you're going to get it yet, but you have to make that wow factor somewhere.
The look that Tallat needs to achieve with his development doesn't come cheap, but he only has £30,000. He estimates spending £8,000 on all building work, including electrics and plumbing. £4,300 will be spent on the flooring. He's set aside a total of £14,000 for the kitchen and the 2 bathrooms. That leaves £3,700 for contingencies, including professional fees and mortgage costs, bringing the total budget to £30,000. For the kind of property and market, I think this budget is too tight. It's 2 weeks after our meeting and work hasn't started yet. Even after my warning about fire regulation issues, Tallat's still hoping to have the open plan space he's always wanted. He submitted his original plans to the building regulations officer, and today he's about to find out if his amateur architect's layout will get the go-ahead.
Hello, Sarah.
How did it go?
Okay, so the guy has basically told me what I really need to do, as we've discussed previously, is to put a wall creating a lobby area. I've got to scrap all my plans for this whole open plan space, but I've got to now redesign everything to try and accommodate for this big wall.
It's going to be spanking.
Spanking! You usually have to go for Soho for that.
Now, I actually think it's going to look nicer with the wall in.
A little bit more complete, but I've got this whole kind of loft kind of vision in it, and it's going to turn it into a proper flat now. But that's fine, we can adapt around it. We can, I've got to go back to the drawing board now.
In order to meet building regulations, as I suggested, Tallat will have to build a wall separating the kitchen and the entrance hall to create a hallway with fire doors to all the other rooms. Both bedrooms, the bathroom and the living area will now all lead off this hallway, creating a safe escape route from the flat in the event of a fire. To avoid Tallat's mistake, always consult your building regulations officer at the local council planning office before embarking on any building work. Building regulations are needed to ensure any works are safe and legal. Building regulations officers will visit your site to make sure it is running in accordance with the guidelines. You can start work without them, but at your own risk, as any work that does not comply must be changed back, and officers do have the power to shut down any site they consider to be unsafe.
So how long do you hope this project's going to take you?
I'm hoping for about 3 months.
3 months, that's not very long for a project, considering that you're working.
Maybe I'm underestimating what's going to happen, but I am walking into it a little bit blind.
Are you planning on doing a lot of the work yourself?
Some of the work I'll be doing myself with my brothers. I think we're quite handy with the old hammer.
It's 3 weeks into the project, the new layout has been approved and the work has finally begun. Not content with being his own architect, Tallat's also taking on the role of builder. Despite having no experience, he's taken 2 weeks annual leave to get the project up and running. He's single-handedly putting up the metal stud work for the internal walls. But it's not as easy as it looks.
Problem is that my drill bit is shite.
Tallat's in for another surprise when he presents his amateur architect's drawings to the local builder's merchant.
Plasterboard, plasterboard living. Have you got a set of drawings?
Yeah, I have.
Right. When I said drawings, I meant drawings. They've got to be by architects, really, because there's nowhere near enough detail on it. It doesn't tell me on there what scale it is.
Are you having a laugh? Do you know how long they took?
For someone who's not an architect, I can believe you worked hard on it,
I
but
work in a bank. I've never used a pencil and a ruler in my life. Do you know how long it took me to draw that? And that is to scale.
as long as a bank worker would take to do an architect's job, I should imagine.
As a novice, Tallat's convinced he can do it all as well as any professional. But by taking on the roles of project manager, builder and architect, he's on a very steep learning curve. I'm worried he's bitten off more than he can chew.
First-time developer Tallat Mukhtar recently bought this shell apartment in London's trendy Shoreditch. He wants to spend 3 months fitting it out and sell it for a massive profit of £100,000. Despite having a full-time job and no building experience, Tallat thinks he can do most of the labour himself. For the last 2 weeks he's been off work, and with a little help from his brother Tahir, he's been erecting the metal studwork. Tahir works in computers, and he too has little experience.
You don't need a nogging in everyone, do you?
It doesn't necessarily have to go inside the ridges, does it?
The nogging? I don't know.
It's been a month since my first visit. Tallat's now a third of the way through the development, and I'm keen to find out what progress he's made and to check out the new hallway.
Hi.
Hello, how are you?
Very well, Sarah.
So this is the hallway?
Made a nice big hallway because I think it's quite important for this place where we're trying to emphasise the space and the whole kind of the height issues.
Often when you have a large hallway or what would appear to be wasted space, it's actually not wasted because it gives a sense
That's right.
of the fact that you can afford to waste that space.
Yeah.
So that's the other bedroom.
That's the other bedroom.
And this is the main sitting room.
Exactly.
So what have you found the hardest thing so far?
The plans. They're definitely the hardest thing. Making sure that everything measures up exactly, the right proportions, the right dimensions, things go in the right order.
And do you think it was time effective to spend 2 weeks putting the studwork up? Do you think it might have been better to pay a carpenter for a day?
I've always believed that. I've been totally against that. Right from the beginning, I wasn't going to just hire somebody, give him all my money and say, "Yeah, mate, make me a flat." I'd have learnt nothing. We'd have achieved not very much. The guy would have made loads of money.
Are you satisfied with the progress so far?
It's been a bit slow, but yeah, we're definitely making progress.
You've still got 8 weeks left, and it can be done in 8 weeks. It's just the bit I feel concerned about and worried for you is that you don't have part-time jobs, you have very stressful, very full-time jobs.
Yeah, you say eight weeks, but it's only a flat. It's only a 2-bedroom flat. Yeah. Famous last words, huh?
Oh, yes, that's optimistic.
I do admire Tallat's desire to learn on the job, but one of the key things with developing is to know your limitations.
All right, get on with some work now.
Time is money, so recognising when it's more cost-effective to pay someone to do the work more quickly and efficiently is crucial.
That's very difficult without a scale rule.
It's also essential to be realistic about your budget, and I'm worried Tallat's will just not be enough.
Have you got a breakdown of your budget of 30,000? And let's have a look at how realistic it is.
Let's see if we can pull it out. Costed about £3,000 per bathroom.
Right, and that's for supplying and fitting the bathroom.
Yeah, that's right. For the ensuite bathroom, I'd rather have a glass partition without a door, let's say, just a frosted or acid-etched glass.
Where's the cost for that here?
I've not costed for those yet.
It's very, very expensive.
Is it?
Because you'd have to have toughened glass.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about thousands of pounds. To sell your flat for the sort of price you want to sell it, you really need to have, as I said, that amazing wow factor it to set it apart from all the others. And I'm a little bit concerned that to achieve that, you need to be spending more than £30,000. So how much could you go up to with money?
45,000, really. Maybe 50 tops.
Upping his budget by 20,000 means Tallat will make £20,000 less profit. This practice is something I'd usually advise against, but in this instance, it's exactly the right thing to do. If he doesn't do it, Tallat won't have enough money to create the wow factor he needs to get his top selling price. It will cost to get this right, but in the Shoreditch market, buyers spending $350,000 on a two-bedroom flat will expect a top-notch property. The Shoreditch market is a unique mix of high-earning city slickers and young creative types. They've swapped the conventional for loft-style living, preferring big open spaces with lots of natural daylight, as many work from home and enjoy entertaining. One of the absolute key rooms to get right for these buyers is the kitchen.
I saw a beautiful kitchen in a magazine, went to their London showroom to find that the kitchen which I'd fallen in love with costs £50,000. You know?
Which is your whole budget.
My whole budget. So
how much are you planning on spending?
about £10,000, I'd say.
So a fifth of your budget is going to be on the kitchen?
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, I think that's probably right, considering what you're trying to achieve with the flat, and the kitchen is going to be the wow factor, isn't it?
Creating a kitchen of this high standard for £10,000 will take focus, lots of research, and relentless shopping around. A full-time job in itself. And with mortgage payments of £700 a month, Tallat can't afford to let this become an endless, drawn-out project.
I think your main problem is that you're not organised enough and you're not ordering everything in time. These kitchens here, I know, take 3 or 4 weeks to come, and some kitchens can take 7 or 8 weeks, which is when it's meant to be going on the market. Have you actually made a decision about buying a kitchen yet?
No, I haven't actually quite made the decision about which kitchen I'm going to buy. I know where the kitchen's going, I know what style of kitchen I want, but it's literally just a case of now choosing and putting my order down.
How long exactly do you mean? I mean, next week or this week?
In a week to 2 weeks' time, I've made that decision for sure.
And ordered it?
And ordered it.
So within 2 weeks from today, you'll have ordered the kitchen?
Yeah.
I'll hold you to it.
For a first-time developer who's given himself just 3 months to finish a complex build, Tallat's not showing much sign of stress.
I'm too cool for school. Nothing can shake me. That's a problem. I'll always be calm. In the face of adversity, that's when I shine.
This development's certainly not shining. 2 weeks come and go, but Tallat still hasn't ordered his kitchen and no more progress is made on site. As he works all week at the merchant bank, Tallat's doing this project in his spare time. It's already halfway through and he's only just got round to getting a professional builder, Colin, who's helping him at weekends. Because they're only working at weekends and there's just the two of them, it's another whole month before the walls are actually finished.
I've achieved a lot. I've done a lot of what I wanted to do, and I really enjoyed the structural side to it more than anything. Styling of it, the design, creating the space. I've been thinking about it for so long. It's my baby. It's all I think about.
It's now more than 2/3 of the way through the project. With such a long way to go and no end in sight, Tallat's finally realised he can't do everything himself.
My workload's quite heavy duty. Maybe it's better for me to kind of hand it over to some professionals who can take it off my hands. You know, I'm satisfied. I wanted to get my hands dirty and I have done.
It's taken Tallat 6 whole weeks to find the right man. That man is Dennis, and today is his first day on the job. Tallat originally wanted to finish this project in 3 months. His 3-month deadline has just gone, but now Dennis is on board, things should really get moving. It's the big day. Tallat's at work, but his brother Tahir is on site.
We need manpower. We could use at least 4 labourers. It could take 10 days to clear the whole flat.
No, I didn't think it would take 10 days.
Well, if I estimate 10 days, I'm being safe. with twice as many labourers, all we need to do is halve the amount of time.
This is a new guy we've hired to do some of the building work. He's supposed to have organised a plasterer. The plasterer hasn't turned up.
By the time Dennis's right-hand man starts to tidy up, it's lunchtime. And Tallat pays a flying visit, expecting to find the plastering well underway.
Where's the plasterer?
I don't know. I've tried his phone. I don't know where he is. Now...
Behind schedule and the plasterer's not here.
Well, I don't see that, at this point in time, as being serious.
Dennis talks a lot. I don't want talk. I really want to see some action.
At this point in time, plastering is not an issue, is it? What I'm saying is, it's unfortunate that the plasterer was not here this morning.
It's been quite stressful at work. It's always quite busy there anyway. Didn't help too much. I was sitting there worrying about what's going on over here.
If you want to say, well, I'm sorry, Dennis.
I was getting a few conflicting reports about this is happening, this isn't happening. I wanted to hand it over to someone, but yeah, at the end of the day, I'm the governor. Really, I am the governor here.
After a disastrous day, Tallat decides not to hand the project over after all and is back to square one. In a desperate attempt to keep the site moving, however slowly, Tallat continues labouring in his spare time, tiling one of the walls in the apartment with slate.
Last time I saw you, you were going to get a main contractor to finish the job.
Yeah.
And you haven't got a main contractor?
No, I tried to take that route, but I never found any contractors who were really kind of in tune with my kind of thoughts, what I wanted to achieve. The other point was their prices were astronomical. One of the contractors was saying the plastering would cost £5,000 and it would take them a week to do it. It cost me £400 and took me a day to get it done.
Any main contractor is quite reluctant to do the second half of a job because I think partially because they slightly worry about why halfway through you're not going down the same route and they would expect to have the job right at the beginning and do the whole thing. So right. They do tend to charge a premium for that. So halfway through a site, you'll find it much easier to employ subcontractors directly rather than take on a project manager or a main contractor.
To be honest, when I came to handing it over, I was like really kind of a bit nervous. I didn't really truly want to hand it over to someone, I realised, because I personally felt I was a bit of a failure. I'm a bit of a control freak.
Now the success of this development hangs entirely on Tallat's inexperienced shoulders. Merchant banker Tallat Mukhtar has a dream to transform this concrete shell into a designer apartment, making a massive £100,000 profit. After 4 months, the development is running a month over schedule. Despite having a full-time job, from now on, Tallat will project manage the site himself, bringing in subcontractors to do the work.
Quite lucky in some respects that I'm actually situated right on a massive building site. Yeah, you meet plasterers and you meet various other trades, chippies and what have you, who can come in and do the work.
Every day, after a hard slog at the merchant bank, Tallat visits the site to oversee subcontractors and plan the development. The rest of his spare time is spent sourcing fixtures and fittings.
Wow. That is something unique. What's it called?
Feng Shui.
Yeah, I can see why.
But Tallat's had a change of heart about the long-term future of his development, which could seriously affect his choices.
About a third of the way into the project, I decided I wanted to keep the place and rent it out as opposed to sell it.
Why did you decide to do that?
I realised this is going to be something pretty special and quite spectacular, and I didn't want to just do it and sell it and then try and move on and do something else.
It's just that the danger with a beautifully finished flat that's very modern, if you rent it out, there's a certain amount of wear and tear that happens, and so when you do come to sell it in the future,
then it's not going to be a newly finished flat unless you do it all over again.
The kind of market which I've been renting it out to is going to be like the young professional city types, you know, who like quality apartments and are prepared to pay for it.
In a perfect world, people who rent want a new kitchen and new bathrooms, and so you're actually better off with renting, putting in slightly cheaper units that you can replace every few years. Now Tallat's renting out his flat, I've come to see if he's taking my advice about the kitchen.
I'm now only going to spend about £5,000 on a kitchen. However, the effect and the look of it will still have that wow factor.
Luckily, creating the wow factor with memorable design ideas needn't cost a fortune. Using a sliding door instead of a wall, installing 2 wash basins as opposed to 1, or a sexy double shower can be done on a budget. But the cheapest option is to use eye-catching ideas like inexpensive coloured lights and quirky stone cladding, which will appeal to the young, trendy rental market. Tallat's gone for a feature wall of Indian slate. That gives you the wow factor, and the radiators as well, which are fantastic. How much does slate cost?
Slate cost me in total about £500.
£500 is actually very cheap for creating an amazing focal feature in the room. Tallat's doing well with his design ideas, which will give his property the edge it needs. But he has taken on a lot project managing this site. Finding subcontractors, sourcing the materials and chasing the suppliers is all down to him. And he's still juggling this with his full-time job at the merchant bank. Is it any wonder then that the scheduling is now holding things up? The boiler hasn't arrived, the flooring, kitchen and bathrooms can't be fitted, and something is going to have to give. Tallat makes the life-changing decision to give up his job in banking.
I'm now focusing on property development as my career.
With no regular income, Tallat is under still more pressure to make this project a success.
Depends on what I can achieve now, not just turning up for work every day and getting paid. It's up to me now to try and accomplish my own aspirations.
The project has reached a standstill. Tallat's first challenge is to get it moving again, and fast. The whole site was being held up by the boiler, but not anymore. With the boiler proved and the plumbing system tested, everything else can now happen. At long last, the walnut flooring, which was delivered and paid for months ago, is finally laid. After weeks on site, Tallat's designer bathroom fittings can now be plumbed. And with no job to distract him, Tallat can address every detail. It's taken Tallat almost 6 months to transform a concrete shell into a designer apartment. He needed to achieve the wow factor, and he's done it in spades. Nowhere more so than with the open-plan living and dining space. Tallat has managed to create the bright, spacious feel of a loft, yet this urban apartment also has a real warmth, given by the use of materials like walnut for the flooring and the wall of slate cladding. Stylish appliances enhance the simple, sleek kitchen, but the beautiful granite work surface really gives it the wow factor. The industrial-looking concrete ceilings and the state-of-the-art radiators are softened by the faintly coloured lighting. Tallat's choice of furniture is contemporary yet welcoming, creating a comfortable environment, perfect for entertaining and designed to seduce his target market. You've really achieved what you were setting out to achieve, and you've got the wow factors in just about all the rooms. I have to say the slate on the wall there is great.
This is one of the better moments of it all, actually, because having seen all the ideas come together and seeing them work, it's the most satisfying thing.
The only thing I would say is that anything that's so en vogue at the moment will be out of vogue.
That's right.
relatively quickly.
Style statements are of the moment.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, it would just look like a standard flat, which is nice and cosy and caters for everybody. But I didn't want that. I wanted a place which makes an impact.
So just how much did this contemporary style cost? Tallat's original budget was £30,000. He soon realised he'd have to up this and has done well to come in under his new budget of £50,000. He spent £11,000 on the building work, including electrics and plumbing. To get that wow factor, Tallat upgraded the flooring, which cost him £6,000. He got a cheaper kitchen than he originally planned, so this with the 2 bathrooms came in at £13,500. Because the project took so long to complete and to pay for essential wow factor features like the wall of slate, Tallat's contingency for this and mortgage costs ended up costing £9,000. As Tallat will be renting the flat out, he had to spend a further £5,500 on furnishing his property to the high standard his rental market will expect. But he still managed to do all this for a total budget of £45,000. Tallat bought his property for £220,000. He spent £45,000 renovating it, making his total investment £265,000. That's a big investment for someone without a day job.
So are you at all concerned about the fact that you now don't have a regular income?
No, I'm not, because I feel it's one of the most positive things I've actually done. This has been a trial and error on this development. I'm glad it's worked out okay, but yeah, I know for future developments it's going to be, I know how it works, I know the system, and I just feel really, really positive about it.
But with no job to support him, Tallat's got to get this apartment rented out. All his money is tied up in the project, and with mortgage payments of £700 a month to find, the estate agent's rental valuations are crucial.
So this is it.
Wood strip floor, touchable hardwood.
Okay. You've got real volume. I love the radiators. They're fantastic.
I like the fact that you've got sort of big floor-to-ceiling windows.
Absolutely.
It lets lots of light in.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, beautiful. Very nice. Very funky.
Funky.
Yeah.
This is very different. Where's this from?
Wow. Great talent.
Tallat needs at least £450 a week to make this a worthwhile development, but will he get it?
£400 a week, I think, is a price that will attract the right sort of people to come and see this property, and I think Tallat should be able to achieve a let quite quickly.
I think if he gets it onto the lettings market sooner rather than later, he's got a very good chance of getting near sort of £450, £460 a week for it.
I think you're probably looking at about £450 a week. Touch more than you expect.
Yeah, I'm really impressed.
If Tallat does rent out the apartment for £450 a week, it will give him a yield of almost £2,000 a calendar month. Take away his mortgage costs of £700 and the property would give him an income of £1,300 a month. That's before tax, wear and tear and periods when it might just lie empty. On these figures, Tallat would get a return of just under 10%, which in the current rental market is pretty good. So has Tallat managed to hit his target market? Time to let the potential renters decide.
£450 a week is what we've got it on for.
Stone flooring's nice in the bathroom.
Be a nice study, actually.
Oh, no.
Here you go.
It's a fight for this, Toby.
Definitely a social kitchen.
The fittings are quite sort of high spec as well and quite stylish.
There's a bathroom. Look at the sink.
Brilliant, I really like it. We were sort of looking up to about 500, so this actually does come into our category. It's actually under, which is always a really good thing.
So the agent said that this place is valued at £450 a week. So it comes down to now, whether we'd be prepared to sort of go the extra £50.
The specifications of the flat are much better than other flats I've seen. The radiators and the lights and the kitchen and the walnut floor is really nice. I mean, it looks like it's laid really nicely.
Yeah, I'm certainly tempted by it myself.
It's really nice, isn't it? I can see us in here.
I can actually as well.
Well, the renters seem suitably impressed, but I'm still curious to know what the apartment is worth and how much profit Tallat would make if he did sell it.
You were originally hoping to sell the flat for $350,000. Now, I know you've had 3 people around to value it. What figures did
Yeah, I got varying kinds of quotes. I've had £350,000, £360,000, and the highest, which was quite way out, £415,000.
Right.
Obviously, I was quite pleased to hear that, but I'm not too sure that if that's too realistic.
Well, the average of those 3 figures would be $375,000, which, if you did achieve that, you'd make £110,000 profit, which is a seriously, seriously good profit.
Yeah, I'm not going to sell it. I don't want to take the money and run. I'm in this for the long term now.
Now, you set yourself an original timescale of 3 months to do this project in, and it's actually taken you nearly twice as long to renovate. Why do you think that's been?
Like you say, Sarah, I think it's very possible to do it in 3 months with a team of guys. I now have a team of people. I didn't then. I was quite naive, I admit to you. I think my calculations on how much it would cost me were quite naive, and my time allocation was quite naive as well. But that's fine. That's the way it goes when you've not done anything before. Yeah.
And you learn.
Yeah, and you learn.
And you take that experience on to the next project with you.
Tallat finished the flat 12 months ago, and after 8 weeks sitting empty, he got the full rental price he'd been hoping for. His second development was another apartment right next door.
A big part of developing is to learn your lessons from each property, so it was good to see that Tallat had taken on a more manageable project this time. And by buying a smaller shell in the same block, it meant he could use the same winning formula as he did last time round.
The idea is to have really nice, clean lines. The styling's quite bold.
But developing wasn't the only thing keeping Tallat busy. Between finishing his first development and starting the next, he scoured Europe to find exclusive suppliers for his new business, a specialist tile shop. In August 2003, it was ready to open.
So why tiles? I mean, of all things.
It's a good, solid business just to keep going while I push on with property development in the background.
Tallat's hoping that by buying directly from quarries in Italy and Spain, he'll be able to offer something entirely different. And he seems to have got it right, because in the first month of business, Tallat sold 5,000 square metres of tiles.
1 month later, he's finished his second property, and it looks ideal for the high-end young professional rental market he's aiming at. He bought the property for $200,000 and has learnt from his first development, because by being better organised, he's done the refurb for $30,000. That's £15,000 less than the last time. How much will you rent this for then?
About £300 a week.
So that's a £230,000 investment with about £15,000 income a year, which is about 7 or 8% return, which is quite good in this market, actually.
Yeah, it's not bad.
So you're still determined that you want to rent and not sell?
Yeah, I'm from a finance background, and we were always taught to leverage and hold on to your capital and build on that.
What would be your advice to anyone who's thinking about giving up their job and developing full-time?
It would be to go for it, totally. I did it, and yeah, if I can do it, anyone can do it. It's hard work, and it goes a bit mental sometimes, but yeah, it's all good fun at the end of the day, and the rewards are there.
Since then, time has marched on. Now it's a full 5 years later, and we're about to find out if Tallat is still bitten by the developing bug. One thing's for sure, when you're as unpredictable as Tallat, there's bound to be a surprise in store.
I'm not stuck in an office. I'm at street level. I'm doing deals. I'm moving fast, and I'm chasing my dreams.
It's been a whole 5 years since I last caught up with Tallat. So has he continued to live the dream as a property developing entrepreneur, or has he gone running back to his city career? Time to find out. It turns out Tallat's been busier than ever.
got 2 properties in this block, and we've got 2 properties in this block. Got 3 flats in this block. Got 2 being built off plan in this block, and I own these garages.
Tallat is now quite the man about town, and he's built up a portfolio of 21 properties which he feels would be worth £4 million. And that's not the only business that has grown.
I'm just opening up my 3rd shop here in Angel, with the 2nd one being in Belgravia. We've supplied material for some of London's most iconic projects, namely, I guess, the Gherkin, the Emirates Stadium for Arsenal. Year on year, the turnover's gone, up and up. I guess I could have afforded a Ferrari if I wanted one, but I bomb around London in that little scooter and I love it.
5 years on, Tallat is still too cool for school, and in fact, I've never met a property developer quite like him.
Oh man, let's go. Cool.
After sundown, he transforms into a DJ, strutting his funky stuff in a local nightclub.
My life, moves at, I think, 100 miles an hour. Maybe I am the only property developing, tile selling DJ, but it's cool, man. It works, and I'm doing what I love.
Tallat is certainly one very happy chappie, but the lion's share of his finances are tied up in property. And in this increasingly difficult market, the key is to look at how the figures in his portfolio stack up. Tallat bought 3 off-plan apartments in this Shoreditch building last year, and they're typical of how he's trying to build up his property empire.
So the 3 apartments in total were bought for 1.2 million. They all average out at about £400,000 each. And that's an off-plan price. Once the properties have completed and once they've been built, I don't see why these properties won't be worth £500,000 a piece.
It's a neat trick if property prices rise, but at the moment the market is as flat as a pancake. And with a huge interest-only £2 million mortgage and rates jumping all over the place, this could be where it all starts to unravel. More recently, buy-to-let landlords are finding it harder and harder to get enough rental income to cover their outgoings. And I've come to meet Tallat at his latest finished rental, a 1-bedroom flat inside this Victorian school conversion in North London. Hey, hello, how are you? Good to see you.
Good to see you, Sarah.
It's been 5 years since we last met. You're now DJing, and you've invested in more properties, and you've also got a number of tile shops. So how do you fit it all in?
Well, I'm a busy little boy, I guess. The last 5 years have been phenomenal for me. My portfolio in property has increased significantly, but that's solely down to the fact that I'm there looking for new properties constantly.
Inside, Tallat has done well in a small space. A mezzanine floor adds valuable square footage, and clean units and simple furniture keeps it feeling uncluttered. And he's done it all for just under 20 grand. Gosh, so you've got your trademark tiles on the floor, I see.
I made a feature out of the tiles on the floor in this property.
Very beautiful tiles. But the rest of it's not quite as en vogue as your previous properties.
What I learnt from you, really, Sarah, over the years is that keep everything timeless, classic, because it doesn't date, and especially for a property which is to be rented out year upon year.
Tallat's learnt a thing or two about design, but I'm worried about the financial risks he's taking. So from quite a really very big property portfolio, on an annual basis, do you see an income out of it?
No, after you've paid all your costs and any kind of services that need to be done at the time, I don't think there is any income left. I think the most important thing is to have an appreciation in your capital of your assets. I see a growth year on year on that.
Tallat is not repaying any of the capital he has borrowed. The success of his property empire is based entirely on a rising market, and he's only just covering his outgoings with his rental income. I guess the only danger is that when it's so tight, if the figures go too far apart, i.e. interest rates go up and rents go down,
that's when you start having problems. But then that's the nature of the business.
So the reality is that you couldn't have the property investments that you have unless you had another income. You need the tile business, which gives you an income, and the DJing, which gives you an income, to be able to do it.
Yeah, I think so. I think the way that I'm running this whole venture is very much so. I've got my other businesses which keep me in a lifestyle which I like, but at the same time I'm able to keep this going.
And do you at any time with your portfolio, do you ever sort of lie in bed and think, oh crikey, am I in too deep?
I'm not deep enough yet. There's still much more to do.
You're still completely confident?
I'm going hard, yeah, big time.
He certainly is. Tallat's just bought this large Victorian building in South London at auction, with plans to turn it into a substantial family home. The trouble is, it's in a highly unlikely location, right on top of a large graveyard. He's also got another idea to turn it into a school and pull in £60,000 a year in rent. But he's got no planning permission, and it all feels like one huge gamble.
How much did you pay for it?
So we paid £728,000 for this.
It's an area I know quite well, and personally I don't think I'd have paid quite as much as you did for it. It would have been, I'd have stopped at around sort of 650, because it is next to a cemetery and it does have a really small garden and it doesn't have the garage next door.
Well, we'll see.
It does seem to me that the key with this deal stacking up is that you do get planning for it to be a school, so I guess all your eggs are in that basket and you need to go for it, don't you?
Yeah, all being well, it'll be fine.
Fingers crossed.
As a school, this investment stacks up a little better, but the alternative is renting it as a family home in a cemetery. And whether he could find anyone willing to cover the £30,000 interest on his mortgage is by no means certain. Once again, as with his whole property business, Tallat is sailing very close to the wind.
What I'm just trying to get my head around is your financial philosophy, because you're quite a risk taker. You've got a lot of property, a lot of debt.
Bloody hell, Sarah, I remember 5 or 6 years ago you used to give me the same hard time, telling me, what you're playing at, what you're doing, you should be worried, how can you sleep at night? I'm quite a relaxed guy, and everything is thought through. It's not just on a whim. It'll be all right.
And you can take it on the chin.
It'll be cool.
On the face of it, Tallat's done incredibly well, building up a portfolio of property worth millions. But scratch the surface and the foundations of his empire look decidedly shaky. If interest rates go up and values and rents go down just a little, his house of cards could easily collapse.
But so far, so good. You never know, Tallat might just pull it off. Next week, we catch up with Stephen Hodgkinson and Philip Martinson a whole 7 years after their first development to find out if they've made a success of the property game.
Would you say that perhaps you're slightly risk-averse?
So a lot of people are losing money on developing at the moment, and I think it's, I don't want to fall into that, we don't want to fall into that trap, do we?
If you'd like to be in the next series of Property Ladder, contact us at channel4.com/take part.
Find out more about tonight's projects and get the Property Ladder team's advice at channel4.com/4homes. Extreme testing and some gorgeous homes everybody's building. Grand Designs is live next on 4.